has a lot of youths. He says this will also enable to boost the tourism sector of Uganda, to enable more tourists to come through, to come in and also get out. It will ease the transportation of tourists. And besides that, we talk about that is the Pope himself came out and apologized for the Vatican involvement into the slavery that happened years back. He came out and apologized, saying that he regrets, and he says he's very sorry for the church's involvement into the slavery activities that happened way back. But besides that, the UAE also banned travelers from 3 countries of the East Africa. That is to say, Uganda, Uganda, DRC, and also Southern Sudan. Those are some of the stories that we are going to look into to see what really happened in your absentia over the weekend. For starters, we look onto the stories that happened on Friday. That was the 5th of June 2026. The President of the Republic of Uganda, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, he came out and commemorated the construction of Kidepo International Airport. That happened under the sponsorship of Shajal Chamber of Commerce and Industry, a company from the UAE. And he said this will the project will cost around 269 billion Ugandan shillings. When you convert that into dollars, it will cost around 72 to 150 million dollars. Yeah, this airport will enable the flow of business when you talk about the tourism sector in Uganda, being that of late the government of Uganda has come out to put more emphasis onto the tourism sector of the Republic of Uganda, because it has enabled very many people to generate money. Besides that, it is a source of income. Very many people have been employed through the tourism sector. And I would like the producer to give us that footage to see what really happened when the President and the Shujal Chamber of Commerce and Industries commemorated the construction of Kidepo Industrial Park.
There are things you did not understand. You did not understand the issue of peace. Some parasites had convinced you that lawlessness was good. And they were killing one another. So the NRM said, no, stop guns. If you stop guns, you will be much better off. You say you are cattle keepers. Cows don't need guns. Cows don't need to run around. Because when you are running around, the cows pick diseases and get sick. If you really want to have cows, you should have settled life. We are now giving you communal dams. But this is like 70 years behind Ankole.
Be avale be ngi karu ngato muni kan kaare e ya ka ngoni kau ngi to angulu nyankole.
Because 70 years ago, that's when we were relying on communal dams.
Abangi kolo ike karu ngato muni kan kaare kolo ngi amore ngada mwa anga kipi anga itu.
But it is a step which can if you are coming from bad situation, you can start with.
Abangi nyaro no arai boringini egeuni ani ero no woi. Togeo mona nini.
Real cattle keeping should be that everybody has got his own dam, his own water source.
Abangi yake tana ngaitu akipiti ngaitu ngina jokan emagi na nginto antu yakare ngake kipi ngakipi ngake itu ebon.
So the community dams we are giving you are transitional if you listen to my advice. Now you thought Ebari was only cows.
Be bali kole be kore Ebari ara yaka ngaitu.
Then Adam said, no, some people think Ebari is only cows or crops. But Adam told you, said, no. Ebari in Uganda are 4 types. There is commercial agriculture, which means crops, and livestock, like cows, goats, and so on. That's one type of Ebari. But the second type of Ebari is manufacturing. Now there's another form of wealth known as services. You are not growing the crop like bananas. You are not looking after cows or goats, but you are providing a service. You own a hotel. And people, when they are in the town, they come and eat in your hotel. Now, tourism comes in.
So
tourism comes in to help people see things which are no longer easily available, like the wild animals.
So
people have grown up in towns. They have never seen a lion. They've never seen an elephant. They've never seen a giraffe. Or sometimes they see them when they are captives in zoos. And they have a wish. I wish I could see how this giraffe would be like if it was in its natural habitat. So you can hear now. My Ebari and yours, Ebari. The one of milk and milk products is $1.5 trillion. That's a lot of money. And I will stick with my cows. Because it is security for life. But the tourism
Akirongo na ngitiang, na nginu ngitiang.
is 11 trillion.
Arai ngabunge ngamilioni ngatomono kape.
It's a bit unreliable. Sometimes when there is no peace, they don't come. It's a bit sensitive, but it's very lucrative. So when the tourists are here, they would eat our own crops. We have the potential for manufacturing. We have for almost all the services.
Republic of Uganda, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, when he officiated the official construction of breaking ground for the construction of Kidepo National Park that happened on Friday last week. And he says the airport will be able to hold 2 million passengers annually. And this makes us, this makes 3 international airports that are in the Republic of Uganda. That is to say, when you talk about Entebbe International Airport, and I'll take you to Hoima, then there is Kabalega International Airport, and then this Kidepo International Airport. That is it's to be constructed in a few, being that we saw or we witnessed the President of the Republic of Uganda when he officiated the groundbreaking of the construction. And he says this will enable to boost the tourism sector, being that Kidepo Valley National Park is one of the parks that are in Uganda that attract quite a number of tourists. He says this will also create jobs to very many Ugandans, approximately around 1,600 Ugandans employed to be employed in the mere construction of this airport. Well, I'll pose a question to you, fellow Ugandans that are watching this morning. Being that we are seeing this, should we say that this is what the president meant when he said this term "no more sleeping"? Is the government not sleeping? Because we are seeing quite a number of infrastructures that are being set up to enable the development and the construction and the going of Uganda forward. Away from that, we talk to we go see the Pope. That was he came out and but besides before we go to the Pope, the Vice President of the Republic of Uganda, that is Her Excellency Jessica Lupu, he came out and emphasized people within the Teso region. He says they should embrace coffee growing and also cotton growing. He said this after giving out seedlings to locals in Teso region, where he emphasized locals to participate in all government projects such as Operation Wealth Creation that will enable training farmers to focus on to shift from subsistence farming to focus on to growing crops that will enable and also be able to put in money into their pockets. He says this the economic goal for this term to enable people within the Teso region that were growing cassava to coffee that will enable to grow to generating more income to support their household. This happened. That happened last week when the High Excellency Jessica Lupu was handing over seedlings from Operation Wealth Creation, and he emphasized that this will enable the region to go further and also to shift from what they have been doing, growing cassava for only home use, and all but when they shift to coffee and cocoa growing, this will enable and also put the region onto the global market. That is what happened in Teso region over the weekend. But besides that, I'll take you to what happened in Vatican. The Pope himself came out and apologized to the church, saying that he regrets and is very sorry for what the church, for the role that the church participated into the ceremony that happened years back. He says this wasn't a good act and the Bible condemns it. He came out and says he really, he apologized mostly to the Africans that were mostly affected onto this slavery activities that happened years back. I'll take you back, ever since the Pope took on office, he has been advocating for peace and peace and amnesty, and trying to say that fighting among countries and leaders, it is not good. He came out and says, he emphasized peace, that it is the way to go for the people within the world. That
legitimizing slavery. Pope Leo making history again, this time with a major apology from the Vatican. The first American-born Pope apologized for the Catholic Church's role in legitimizing slavery and for failing to condemn it for centuries. Pope Leo called it a, quote, wound in Christian memory and asked for forgiveness in the name of the Church. Pope Leo making history again, this time with a major apology from the Vatican. The first American-born Pope apologized for the Catholic Church's role in legitimizing slavery and for failing to condemn it for centuries. Pope Leo called it a, quote, wound in Christian memory and asked for forgiveness in the name of the Church. Pope Leo making history again, this time with a major apology from the Vatican. The first American-born Pope apologized for the Catholic
congregation that was in May, in the month of May, when he came out and apologized for the church's role, or the role that was played by the church onto the slavery activities that happened. And this is a historical moment, I would say, being that we actually, after many popes that were in charge of the Vatican or the church and that led the church, he is the first one to come out publicly to apologize for the activities that were done by the church into the slavery. And he came out, he mentioned that the African continent was the mostly affected continent when it came to the slavery. He condemned the corporal punishment that were subjected onto the people that were involved into slavery, mostly the Africans. He also condemned the leaders and says he's very sorry for the church, being that the church condemns activities that are against human rights. And he actually, Pope Leo, he is an advocate for human rights. He emphasized and he talks more onto human rights, where he says that he condemned the President of Republic, or the President of USA, onto the ongoing war between Israel and Israel, Iran, and the US. He condemned, and he emphasizes peace talks among the three countries. This time round, we're seeing him talking about and apologizing onto the activities that were done that were done under the church's authority, to appreciate and also emphasize and also to participate into the slavery activities that happened years back. But I would say this is a good gesture, being that we saw the Pope himself a few months back when he came out and also talked onto the xenophobic attacks that are happening in South Africa, besides the talks and emphasizing more talks onto the ongoing war between Israel and Palestine. So I would say the Pope is doing what he has to do, being that he aids the church and emphasizes that church is a place of peace. If me and you, we know, the viewer that is watching this early morning, that we all believe and know that the church churches where everyone is holded, and that's where we run to in case of any insurgence that happens into our countries. But if we're seeing the Pope right now at the moment saying that and condemning the activities that happened into years back when the church and different popes participated into the slavery activities, I would say that is a historical moment. We'll go in two books, as Pope Leo emphasized and came out and apologized onto the activities that happened years back. We're going in for a short commercial break. We're coming back with a sports update with Sam Derrick Kalyango. Commercial break. I believe Sam Derrick Kalyango has done you justice. As usual, there is a saying that better late than never. Dr. Semalu Charles is in the building. We talk about stories, and he will give you insight onto the deeper, going deeper into stories, and he will narrate and give you that clear picture. You, the viewer, as we say that being that it is a new day, we make sure that we give you information that will enable you go through within the day with the information at hand. Doctor, good morning.
Good morning, Chair.
Today you're not late, I will not say that.
No, we are celebrating. We had a very big celebration.
Okay.
The rumors of Ebola are no more officially from the ministry.
Yet we have bans from the UAE.
Yes, of course. Let them do what they want to do. But at least officially, the ministry at least gave us a clear position. We've been fighting them here, seriously. Not a bad fight, but a very good fight.
Okay.
To ensure that with the small economy that we have, we don't have to come up with unnecessary communication that throws people into panic and speculations, and also closing the border. That was a far-fetched kind of decision. So, yeah, it's the celebration that took some time. And
Doctor, today in history, we want to look on to the 1967, the civil war that happened in Nigeria after the division of three regions, that is the north and west, and also and the east. The north was given to the west was given to the Igbo, and the west was given to Yoruba, and also
and the west was the north was for the Hausa Fulani.
Hausa Fulani,
yes. Fulani, those are the Muslims. They almost make 30% of the entire Nigeria, and then the west is for the Yoruba.
Yes,
for the Yoruba speakers, and then the east is for the Igbo. But that doesn't mean that in Nigeria there are not so many other tribes, but those are the dominant tribes. Yeah, the Hausa Fulani make almost 30% of the entire population. That is in the northern part. That's where the insurgents of Boko Haram are disturbing the people. Why? Because they are particularly Muslims and they are cattle keepers. They're just like you see the Kalamajongs. We call them the Hausa Fulanis. They are Muslims and they are moving. Actually, that part neighbors what we call Niger as you're moving up outside. Then this other side in the Igbo land, Igbo is next to Cameroon. That is the eastern part of eastern part, which is next to Cameroon. They are there, and then the Yoruba, which is next to the part of Benin. They are in the eastern. Actually, the Hausa Fulani, they are almost 30% of the entire population in Nigeria. Nigeria has almost 250 million people. It's the biggest country when it comes to the population on the African continent. So the Hausa Fulani are 30%. The Igbo are between 18 to 17, between 18 and 19%. That is on the eastern side, and then the Yoruba in the western side, they are almost 20 to 25%. So those are the dominant tribes in Nigeria. But of course, there are so many other tribes in there. So what happened was, after getting independence, the first prime minister of Nigeria was called Tafawa Balewa. That was a gentleman. Nigeria got independence in 1960 under the party called the National NCC, National Convention for Nigeria and Cameroon. They had a political party that was connecting the two countries because they're neighboring states. But of course, after independence, just like so many African countries got into civil wars, very many African countries got into civil wars. Actually, we have a few African countries that didn't get either intermediary coup or civil after independence. Why? Because there were so many issues, most of the leaders were not prepared, and that was the climax of Cold War politics. So what happened in Nigeria was a gentleman called the Chief Ejukwu. Chief Ejukwu was coming from the Igbo, from the Igbo side, that is the eastern part of Nigeria. For them, they said, no, we don't want to be part of the bigger Nigeria. So they declared their territory independent from Nigeria. So that part was called Biafra. So we refer to it as the Biafra secession. A secession is when a given part of a country wants to become independent from the main country. One of the other secessions we had was Katanga. Katanga was a part in Congo that also wanted to break away from the mainland of Congo,
yes.
But that was also failure. So even in Nigeria, the Biafra wanted to break away. That is the Igbo dominant side. They wanted to break away from mainland Nigeria. That secession attempt was led by a gentleman called the Chief Ejukwu. And they also established their own capital city. It was called the Port Harcourt. Away from Abuja.
Yes, I know,
yeah. It was something that was done to get away from the mainland Nigeria. But because it wasn't successful, this is what dragged Nigeria into a serious civil war. The Yoruba didn't want to leave, the Hausa Fulani didn't want to leave, and also the Britons, the former colonial masters, they didn't want to lose their territory. So that is what dragged that country into a civil war. But of course, eventually, Chief Ejukwu and his men were defeated.
Yes.
They didn't have a success. That is what led to the emergence of people like Yakubu Gowon. Yakubu Gowon, actually, he just played it so well. Yakubu Gowon was a leader who was part of the people that were fighting. After the civil war, he said, I am forgiving each and every person that has been fighting. And you know what happened? In 1975, Yakubu Gowon came. That was when Field Marshal Idi Amin Dada, the conqueror of the British Empire of Uganda, was the chairperson of the Organization of African Union. Amin was elected a leader of the African Union in 1975. And Yakubu Gowon, who had taken over the leadership, came to participate or came to be part of Amin's Came to be part of Amin's conference that was here in Kampala in 1975. Now, while in this conference, Yakubu Gowon also got overthrown. There was a military coup where his leadership was also overthrown. As he was still discussing in the conference, someone came, you know what? My president, don't go back home because your government has been toppled. Actually, when he went back, he was eliminated and he was, his life was taken in just a very terrible way. So by the secession or the civil war, it's something that claimed almost between 20 to 50,000 lives. So many Nigerians died, most especially that we are coming from the side of the Igbo and the Yoruba. Now, the people in the northern part of Nigeria didn't so much get involved. It was majorly a strife or a conflict between the Westerners, those are the Yoruba, and the Easterners that were led by the Igbo. And this attempt of seceding or secession of breaking away from the mainland of Nigeria was led by Chief Ejukwu, like we said, and they wanted to establish their own territory or their independence at what we call Port Harcourt, but it was a failure, it wasn't successful.
All right, Doctor. So after that, the civil war, then later on, Nigeria was able to get independence as a nation.
Yes.
Okay. So away from that, over the weekend, we saw the United Arab Emirates. They came out and declared a ban on to all travelers from the 3 East African countries. That is to say, Uganda, DRC, and Southern Sudan, claiming that there is due to the ban came after the escalating Ebola viruses that are within the 3 countries. And remember, the President of the Republic of Uganda a few days back came out and said, "Why are people going to Dubai?" So should we use should we use this as an opportunity to stabilize the economy within the country than letting very many youths going to the UAE? And you said when you came in earlier that the Minister of Health came out and clarified on 2 the Ebola cases that are in Uganda. So where does this take the country, being that of late we do more business with the UAE? Very many Ugandans go to Dubai and go to the UAE to shop and also ship very many things within the country to enable the economy going on. Won't this affect the economy of the country?
Definitely. You remember, it is not only the UAE that has done that. UAE comes in as one of the countries following Qatar, following Bahrain, following Canada, following the US. You understand? So there are so many countries that have reacted, you know. That's why we were like, if the ministry was a little bit getting so much highlighted, or failing to come up with the right approach on how to communicate. Because communication is very, very important when it comes to international business and international relations. Yes, there is a crisis, there is an outbreak, but how do we handle it? Most especially when most of the Ugandans have issues on social media, they just, you know, put up. We don't have a little bit of serious firewalls that can be in position to shape our identity as a nation, such that that image can be sold out. So yes, definitely, because of the rising Ebola cases in in Congo, and Uganda being one of the countries that share big borders with Congo, boundaries rather, it made it very hard for us to come up, to be a little bit very distinct. I mean, to be a little bit very excluded from what's happening in Congo. But of course, from the look of things, we don't have so many cases. We don't even have more than 10 cases, and we've just reported, I think, 2 deaths, you know. So definitely, but all European powers, all countries have rights to close borders. All countries have rights to close their boundaries, because at the end of the day, prevention is better than cure.
Yes.
You know. But of course, the ban that we're talking about is temporal. It's temporal, like it's temporary. It's temporary. It's tentative. Actually, for UAE, they didn't even specify like how long this ban is going to take. It was only Bahrain that said, okay, our ban is going for 30 days. You know, I think Canada said 90 days. I'm not sure about that. But the UAE has not specified.
Yes.
So definitely, they might be in position to review their kind of decision that they've chosen to take against Uganda. So they can be in position to review. Most of the countries that have come up with bans, they have not specified. But those guys are taking our gold. Why are they not putting a ban on our gold?
I'm like, won't this affect the economy of the country? Being
but of course, they cannot stop a gold from going. Gold has to find ways of
going to Dubai, to UAE.
They have to gold has to find a way, because they need it seriously. And they need it seriously. And actually, Dubai is struggling. Dubai is struggling because of the war in Iran. That's why they got out of the OPEC, the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. You know why? Because all what they've been providing on world market is oil. Now the Strait of Hormuz is closed. They don't have access to the oil. Okay, they have their oils, but they cannot put them on the world market. And one of their biggest oil wells, bunkers, was hit allegedly by Iran, but Iran says it didn't hit it. That was at Fallujah, something like that. It was hit. So they don't have anything that they are putting on world market. So many businesses are closing in Dubai. So Dubai is not okay. It's not okay just because they have a lot of glamour, you know, they have a lot of it's an exciting city, you know. There is very, very exciting. You cannot get to understand, but they are struggling. They are struggling economically. They are trying to diversify the economy such that they can look into other alternatives of getting the money, such that they can, you know, diversify on their incomes and all that, but it's also not doing right. The war in Iran has affected them. It has reduced on the amount of oil that they put on the world market. They don't have so many alternatives that they can put on the world market. So it is also turning out to be one of the biggest problems. So they are struggling as a country. They are struggling as an emirate. They are struggling because of the war in Iran. But of course, we believe that maybe it may not take more than 30 days. It may not take more than 30 days. Even some Ugandans that are in Dubai want to come back in Uganda. Why? Because they're not working.
Yes.
They're not working. The economy is not okay. Most of the companies have closed. Most of the serious investors have gone back to their countries. So it's a little bit very disturbing for Dubai as an emirate. Not only Dubai, the entire UAE actually.
But Doctor, I want to pose a question. How come Rwanda is not part of the countries that are being put onto travel bans, being that Rwanda shares a border with DRC? Yes, we do share a border with DRC, but then how come Sudan is being part of it, Southern Sudan?
We've always been talking about this here, that one of the ways on how European exploiters or globalists take over resources and what. Now, the entire problem that you're seeing right now is Congo. You know, the entire problem is Congo. Congo is the source of so many raw materials. You understand? We talked about cobalt. We are talking about AI. You know, just because we don't have serious discussions on this, we shall need to have a program and to understand exactly what is the value of Congo on the world market. Now, the point is very simple. 80% of the cobalt, 70% of the cobalt that goes on the world market comes from Congo.
Yes.
And without cobalt, you cannot have an AI system running. Most of the companies that are producing AI, they don't have AI in their country. I mean, they don't have these mineral resources, or they have minerals. Now, China is in Congo, Qatar is in Congo,
Yes.
France in Congo, USA is in Congo, Uganda in Congo, Rwanda in Congo, Angola in Congo, South Africa is in Congo, Bulimubbi in Congo.
Congo.
So in a way of trying to get to define exactly who takes what and when, they have to come up with so many means. One of them is media propaganda, and the other is germ warfare. Now, germ warfare, definitely, whenever you see that there is an outbreak of a disease, it means that there is some power that is coming in. Most of the doctors that you see coming, they are not doctors. Those are serious operatives. They are military operatives. They come dressed as doctors. Like we talked about a story last week here, where the Congolese chest doctors that were carrying an empty casket. There was no dead person. They were saying, okay, we are going to bury a dead person. So what they do, this is how they steal. It is serious stealing, theft.
Yes.
This is what they do. When they get to know that maybe Mulago, there is an outbreak of Ebola, I'm just assuming, maybe Chila,
Yes.
they come and quarantine the entire area. Now, no one is allowed to access that area if you don't have access from the authorized people. This can be from the World Health Organization. But whatever takes place in between that region, no one knows. So when they come and say that there is a quarantine, maybe in Chireka, right? Specifically in that area. Now they are going to ensure that they have UN forces to protect that area. But whatever takes place within that region, no one knows. So what are kusima? So the quarantine is not to stop the disease. The quarantine is to protect the people that are going to steal the resources. That's how they do it. And in order to scare away the rest, you know what they do? They put media propaganda. Banai Ebola, Banai Atabuse, Bali. You understand? So these are some of the games that they've been playing. They play a lot of these games in Asia. They played a lot of these games in South America and in Africa. So it's serious business. So if you're taking resources away from Congo, you need to have an outlet. In other words, after stealing all the resources from Congo, you need to have an outlet. Where do you take resources from? That is Rwanda. Therefore, you don't close Rwanda. After stealing whatever you've stolen from Rwanda, from Congo, you use Rwanda as an outlet. So that's why you don't see any kind of uprising, maybe outbreak, fake news in Rwanda.
Yes.
Why? Because Rwanda is a little bit of one of their conduits, a state that they use to plunder the other state. Right? So Uganda is also one of them. They also use a lot of, they also do a lot of plundering with Uganda and all that. But after maybe disorganizing Uganda and Kenya, you need to have an outlet. And an outlet that is Rwanda, because they also have a very serious air, the Rwandan air and all that. So that's why Rwanda is not among them. Because you need to have an opening where you can take the resources from. And in this case, it is Rwanda. For so long, Rwanda has been known for doing this. The M23 people. And the UN has also been banning Rwanda, accusing them of supporting the M23. But what are the M23 doing in Rwanda? I mean in Congo. They are plundering resources through Rwanda, and then they take them away. So this is business.
So someone is benefiting from this travel ban.
This is serious business.
Okay.
That is what we call international business. Yeah. If you've never studied about this in your course at university, probably you didn't study international business. That is what we call international business. It is very, very sophisticated. People are making a lot of money. They can even take over the entire ministry. They can put ads everywhere to make sure that you create what we call fear amongst the people. And after creating fear, you quarantine the area. You lock it up. You lock it up, you get forces to protect it. Now, whatever is happening within that area, no one knows. Never sima. After like some time, now we can open this area. How would you know that?
After getting what they want.
After getting what they want. This is a game they played for so many times in Africa, in South America, and in Asia. They even do it in America. You think Americans are smart people? They are not that smart. They can also get swindled.
Doctor, let me take you back to something that I did a story earlier on in your absentia. You talked about the groundbreaking, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, when he officiated the groundbreaking of the construction of Kidepo International Airport. This comes after the construction of Kabalega International Airport. Me, I was able to see the structure, how the structure would look like in the magazines and so on. But what is on ground, it is a bit different. And And then we are seeing this. There are very many projects that have been brought out of late. For example, we have the standard gauge railway that is in construction. We have the oil pipeline that is under construction. And at the moment, we are having this Kidepo International Airport. So what is this? What is really happening? It is good. We are not saying it's bad. It is good because we all believe and would wish our country to go further. But sometimes, isn't it too much?
We say this Kisanja is not sleep.
True. And,
Kisanja no more sleep.
And actions are speaking right now. Actions are speaking at the moment. And it is good. And I believe because the president came out and said this will enable to boost the tourism sector within Uganda, being that Kidepo Valley National Park is one of the tourist destinations that we have in Uganda. It says this will also employ quite a number of very many people. Of just mere construction, 1,600 employees have been employed locally.
Yeah, that very area has a lot of potential, just because for so long we've always been saying that we shall not wait for the Kalamajongos to develop. But the problem has always not been the Kalamajong. Kalamaja is a very developed area, according to what they want and according to how they see things in their own way. They want their country like that. They want their region developed like that, just because, of course, there are so many issues right there. So we did a story last year, I think, here, when we were talking about the president visiting that area, and how best can they help the region to develop and benefit, because these are Merrick people, these are cattle keepers. Their strategic location puts them into the entire population of the Horn of Africa because they're related. They are all Amites, descendants of Cushites. Because if you happen to look at the people in Karamoja, they're not different from the people of Kenya, the Turkana, around that area. That's why there's so much exchange in cattle rustling. But an airport in Kidepo, is a very good one, because Entebbe is suffocated sometimes.
Yes.
Entebbe gets suffocated, and yes, they've tried to expand, make it bigger, but of course it's suffocated too. Entebbe Road is also suffocated with jam. Yes, they were in a position to have a little bit of the express highway that can be in position to let people move, but it's also suffocated. You should be in a position to have a little bit of so many outlets that can decongest the main airport. So you have Kabalega too. The specific areas where airports have been put, they are very strategic.
Yes.
Because if you talk about Kabalega International Airport, that is in the Hoima city. There's a lot of potential that is coming up. And then you don't have to forget that Karamoja is the richest region in Uganda. It's the richest region of Uganda. In 2018 or 2019, a study was done and they discovered almost 13 trillion tons of gold in the Karamoja region. Karamoja, that is if you move downwards to Mbali. Do you know what it means? Now, if you just get the entire gold, all the gold resources that we have in Karamoja, and we process them fully, Uganda is the richest country on the planet just by that region. Now, if we put some kind of economic value on that, if we export that gold in raw format, Uganda can earn almost $25 trillion from that gold. The American economy is $35 trillion. The Chinese economy is almost $29 trillion. I don't know if you're getting me. Yes, so that area is very rich beyond measure. If we get that gold and we process it, and we export a final product, that gold can be in a position to fetch Uganda almost $59 trillion. In other words, Uganda can take off beyond the side of America, beyond the economy of China in just 2 years if we just use that gold.
Okay.
That we just have in that area up to this side of Mbali, only that side, Wagagai, and then you move up in that area too. We have marble in that area. There's lithium, there are diamonds, there's iron, there's nickel, there is copper. Now, I'm not even talking about the cows and the milk. You have iron, you have nickel, you have copper, you have gold, you have marble. All these are mineral resources. So, yes, and the roads are being constructed, by the way. I think that's why the government came up with a ministry, an independent ministry of Karamoja. You understand? But in order to benefit from this, we should be in a position to so much look at what we call the industrial base. So because if you put up an airport, do you know what it means? that the airport is going to facilitate transportation of the materials. And the president has always been saying that, no, we are tired of transporting our raw materials, getting them exported, right? So how many industries have they been, have we established in that area to ensure that our marble, our copper, our gold, our nickel is processed within that area? 2, how much, which kind of resources do we have in terms of human resource? Because Kalamajons cannot even process because they don't have that energy. They don't have that power. So before we talk about an airport, which is a good thing, now we should be putting institutes, research centers. People should be carrying out research on our copper, on our gold, on our nickel, on our lithium, on our marble within that very area. Yes, they've constructed roads, by the way, in the Karamoja region. They put some hotels in there. But all of what we do is to get all those minerals, put them on the gates, and take them outside. So the area is very fine. The airport is going to change that very area. But the president has always been saying that we are done of exporting our raw materials, right? So can we use Karamoja as a center that can help Ugandans get all our mineral resources processed? Karamoja can take off within just 5 years, just with one industry, gold industry. Just one industry can take over the entire country. So the region is very, very rich. But the instance of the airport, of course, it brings a lot of modernization. People are going to start, putting up residential areas there, international residential areas, actually, the point that I'm just talking about is that the airport is very wonderful. But do people have the capacity to benefit from the airport? 2, the airport is transportation. Is it transportation of investors to come and invest in the industries within there, or the airport is going to help us load our resources, just like we've done for so many years, and we take them outside? So the intention is the most important part. But as a country, I think that's a very big plus. If we use the airport to bring in the investment that's going to help set up industries of the specific mineral resources that we have in that area, I want to buy land in Karamoja.
Thank you so much. Dr. Your parting thoughts being that we are out of time, asking Uganda is coming next.
Yeah, I think Ugandans should be a little bit very happy now that the fake news of Ebola are no more. Ebola is no more. Ugandans should enjoy. Those that we are trading with the Congo, we should find means of, I think the government should help people. The government, because as individuals, for us, we shall just go. But the government should be in position to put up terms and conditions of how Ugandans can be in position to cross and do business with the Congo. Because with this economy, and then you close another economy where we get the $2 billion,
All right, that has been Dr. Samaul Charles this early morning. My name is Mugabi Regan. Let's meet tomorrow, same day, same station. Keep it locked.